I'm ballin', I have a song.
Hello and welcome back, football fans. This is Sebastian Firon, Doctor of Physical Therapy, working with the guys over at the Sports Gambling Podcast, here for another edition of the Thursday Night Football injury analysis and breakdowns, and looking forward at the fantasy football relevant injuries at the Sunday slate. Let's go ahead and get started with your Week 3 Thursday Night Football game with the Houston Texans taking on the Carolina Panthers. This injury report this week is a bit lopsided, much like I think this game ultimately is going to go. So let's go ahead and get started with the 1-1 Houston Texans missing their starting quarterback Tyrod Taylor out with a hamstring strain, already on IR. He injured his hamstring on a 15-yard touchdown run against the Browns last week. So with his hamstring, we're talking about damage to the lower leg or the muscle in the back of the leg there. That's going to allow him to go ahead and make plays with his legs and ultimately provides the power in your lower body to allow you to effectively play the quarterback position. So this is really just a tough break for a guy who's had a lot of tough breaks in his career. Tyrod Taylor is a quarterback who's going to consistently put your team in a position to win, and he's going to execute the game plan. He was having a fairly good year for them this year. If we look at his stats, he had a 70% completion percentage, 400 yards passing, 55 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns in 1.5 games. He really performed well for them, so it's a very tough break. Replacing him is rookie out of Stanford, third-round pick Davis Mills. He came in last week and was 8 for 18, had about 100 yards, 1 pick, and an interception. So, not the best start, but not terrible. So we'll see what we have there. I think this is a great opportunity to go ahead and, if you can still pick them up, or if you have them, play the Carolina Panthers defense this week. Number 1 defense in fantasy and the league. I think this is a great spot. You have a rookie quarterback coming into a short week who's getting put in there, and a team that already has a bunch of question marks. I think if you have the opportunity, go ahead and snag the Panthers defense and play them this week. Moving forward, we have a pair of wide receivers injured for the Texans. We have rookie Nico Collins out of Michigan. Now, the Texans are one of the teams that they don't really disclose, severity or a specific diagnosis of injuries all the time. So this one, they're just calling it a shoulder injury. He's been put on IR. He's going to miss at least 3 weeks. Not a huge blow to the offense. He's only had 2 catches in about, these past 2 games. So they should be able to kind of replace that production. But a bigger role here would be Danny Amendola, who is out this week with a thigh injury. The veteran slot receiver had 6 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown in the 2 games he's played in so far. He's going to be out this week. Now, the good news on that front for the Texans is that they're getting back wide receiver Anthony Miller. This week, he was dealing with some shoulder dislocation injuries. He's been dealing with that, throughout his career, but he should be active and back this week. So as far as guys that get a fantasy boost for the Texans offense, you still have Brandon Cooks, who's the number 1 wide receiver there. If you have him, you're going to play him. Anthony Miller is a bit of a riskier play in the slot. They may be down a lot, throwing a bunch, so he could get some garbage time touches there. Looking at the defensive side of the ball for the Texans, they're possibly going to be missing 2 starting defensive backs this week. The first would be cornerback Terence Mitchell. He's still in concussion protocol. And then I think the bigger impact would be potentially Justin Reed starting free safety for them. He's officially listed as questionable. He picked up a knee injury last week against the Browns. He was a limited participant Monday. It was looking like he may play, but then he didn't. Did not participate in both Tuesday and Wednesday's practices, so he's not trending towards playing, which could be a big loss for them. He already has 2 interceptions on the year, 1 in each game, 8 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 pass breakups. So if he's out, and with Terence Mitchell, the starting cornerback, already out, look for the Panthers offense to be able to just kind of shred them through the air. Defense that already has been giving up a good amount on the ground and the air. So this would be a big blow to their secondary if both these guys are out. So moving to the other side of the ball, we have Pat Elfline, the starting guard for the Carolina Panthers, out with a hamstring strain. He's already been put on IR. Now, generally, when a starting member of your offensive line goes down, this isn't great. But, they're playing the Texans this week. They're already giving up 116 yards per game on the ground. Not the scariest defense. So I think that, this should have an impact, but not the biggest impact on the game overall. And then the only other player out for the Panthers is Yatir Gross-Matos out of Penn State. He's a backup defensive end out with the ankle injury. Again, he's not even in the starting lineup, so I don't think this is going to have a huge impact. But, I think the bigger thing to talk about here is that the Panthers have quietly had the best defense in the league. It's based off statistics. They've only let up 21 points in 2 games. They're the number 1 fantasy defense. So again, I would reiterate, I think, I just picked them up today. They're available in probably around half leagues at this point. So if you have the opportunity, go ahead and pick up the Panthers defense. I think they're eligible to come up for a good game here. All right, looking at some injuries going forward, we have Jarvis Landry, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. He's recently been put on IR with an MCL sprain. MCL is one of the ligaments in your knee. This definitely, affects your knee stability, especially side to side there. So they felt the injury was significant enough to have him out for at least for the 3 weeks. This is going to affect his route running ability and run after the catch. But hopefully, once he gets enough rest, he should be good to go once he comes back. Now, looking ahead, this brings us to the Odell Beckham Jr. question. Is he going to return this week off that ACL tear? He was originally expected to come back week 1. He hasn't played in either week 1 or week 2. Good news on that front is today he practiced fully. So they haven't said anything as far as whether he's going to play or not yet, but that is a good sign that he's fully back. I think fantasy boost, definitely Odell Beckham would get one there, but although I think he would still be limited, I think a bigger thing would be look to pick up, the Browns tight end. David Njoku actually leads in receiving yards this year already, and then Austin Hooper is having a pretty good year. So I think if you're going to pick up any pass catchers, look for the tight ends there in Cleveland. Moving along, we have Andy Dalton out. He has a bone bruise, so he did avoid a major knee injury as far as an ACL tear or anything like that. But this bone bruise is going to have him out multiple weeks. This is something that, the timeline's variable. And when we talk about a bone bruise, we're talking about damage to the surface of the bone where fluid and some blood builds up and there's pain and swelling, and this can be a tough injury to deal with. Now, the timeline's variable. It could be a few weeks. It could be a few months, depending on severity. So we'll have to see there. But for now, it's Justin Fields' time. The highly anticipated rookie. He's going to come in, get his first official start. So we're going to see. He's going to be going up against the Cleveland Browns this week. Now, generally, coming into the year, we all thought the Browns were going to have a great defense. At this point, they've already given up, 33 points to the Chiefs, 21 to the Texans. Tyrod was, he's kind of hurting him with his legs. He was looking real good that game before he got injured. So, definitely a riskier play. But I think if you believe in Justin Fields, this is a week where he's probably going to have to use his legs to run a lot, and he could, even at the very least, get some garbage time points there. Let's go ahead and move forward with Josh Jacobs, running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. He was coming into the season with a turf toe injury, and that's where we talk about where there's damage to the ligaments of your toe. He did not play last week, or he played week 1. He looked limited, but he picked up an ankle injury as well. So he did not play last week, and this week he has not been practicing. It's not looking good so far. Gruden called him very questionable as far as week 3. So definitely a situation to monitor, but even if he does play, I would expect him to be limited at this point. Backups Kenyon Drake and Peyton Barber kind of split carries. Neither of them really impressed versus the Steelers, so I don't think any of them are, a must start at this point. And then let's end on a good note here. Guys that I think are going to have good weeks. Let's start with Saquon Barkley coming off that ACL, MCL, meniscus surgery. I just think this is a good point in the season for him and also a great opportunity. Playing off that Thursday night game, he's got 10 days of rest, and he's going up against the kind of dismal Atlanta Falcons defense. I believe they're worst in the league, giving up 40 points a game, 127 yards on the ground rushing. I think this is a great spot for Saquon to come back and have a big week. Also, Dalvin Cook picked up a minor ankle injury last week. And all reports of the team seem like he's going to be good to go this week. Definitely monitor the situation, but he's playing a Seahawks team that just gave up 182 yards and 3 touchdowns to Derrick Henry. So look for Saquon and Dalvin Cook to have a good day there on Sunday. And then as always, guys, on Tuesday evenings, the injury report's going to come out with the article. And then on Fridays, I do a college football big injury reports. That's going to be over at sportsgambling.com. And then on Wednesdays, this video comes out. So as always, follow me on Twitter at SGPNFootballDoc for up-to-date news and analysis. And feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns you guys have.